Doctors and nurses are to Black women what police officers are to Black men. And what I mean by that is they quite literally don't see us as human. They don't see us as people who are deserving of basic decency and respect and empathy. And it's the most disgusting thing because when we're having an issue or we need help, that's who we're supposed to go to. And they don't see us as fucking human. Watching the video of that woman who was in active labor, damn near fighting for her life, because in case we forgot, pregnancy can be life-threatening. Whole time, LaChrista Vaughn, the nurse at Dallas Regional Medical Center, is sitting there more worried about paperwork, not showing a shred of fucking empathy for this woman who is fucking fighting for her life. And even beyond just this one nurse who was put on administrative leave, not fired, but put on administrative leave, I'm side-eyeing every single medical professional in that hospital because what do you mean nobody thought to step in? Nobody thought to intervene. The mom was turned away from the ambulance bay. She had to go searching for her own wheelchair. The security guard had to help her get her daughter out of the car. No, this is an environment that was set up and everybody in that hospital is complicit. That whole hospital needs to be investigated, and that Timu Red Queen LaChrista, she needs her license revoked immediately because this is fucking disgusting. Medical racism in 2025 is fucking insane. Black women deserve protection, respect, empathy, and care, especially when that's in your fucking job description. Hope this helps. Peace and love. Talk to you later.
Hey, so it is not normal to hear a person scream and then feel nothing. That's literally not how your brain is supposed to work. Whether the person is screaming out of fear or pain, this is an evolutionary thing to warn other humans to either protect the human or to get away from danger. It comes pre-installed at birth for the noise of someone screaming to immediately send you into fight or flight. When you're born screaming and crying and pissing and shitting because it activates your mom being like, oh shit, I have to protect this thing. It activates everyone around you like, oh shit, I have to protect this thing. It is literally supposed to activate very important parts of your brain. So when you work at a hospital where you hear that a lot and you stop having that reaction, you have a problem. Medical desensitization kills people because it literally removes your sense of urgency when someone is doing the most basic evolutionary thing to tell you that something is wrong. And guess who that kills the most?
Family, how you doing? Welcome back again to my channel. My name is Olivia and thank you so much for your love and support. So family, Black women's lives need to be protected. And with the things are happening recently these past few days where we've have couple of pregnant women who were discharged and ignored in the hospital in America. It's so sad because if you're a healthcare person, if you're a healthcare professional, the lives of people should be your priority. Saving lives of people should be your priority, right? So I don't see the reason why you will ignore the pains, you will ignore their scream, like it doesn't matter. Okay? Black lives matters and black women needs to be heard. Black women needs to be taken seriously. When they come to your hospital and complain to you about a particular pain, just know that they are not exaggerating. All right, they are not exaggerating. They are telling you the fact that they're in pain. Okay, so we're going to keep watching together, of course, and hear what more people have to say about this healthcare systemic racism happening in 2025. Okay, and let me know if you have had any experience. Share with us in the comment section, please. And don't go anywhere. Stay with me. We'll come back after a while.
As much as I enjoy working in the US, I will never have my kids in the US. Never. Me and my husband have already spoken about this. I will never have kids in the US. And like we all have seen that video recently of that Black woman being blatantly ignored by that nurse, which I don't even want to call her nurse. She's just stupid. By that stupid person. It just shows you how deeply rooted systemic racism is in healthcare. And the reason why she just overlooked her symptoms, she is in agonizing pain. And you're asking her when her last bowel movement was? Like, another situation, or not a situation, but I always like to say certain specialties are reserved for nurses with a heart. nurses that have patience. You have to love what you're doing if you work in specialties like labor and delivery, mother and baby, your pediatric units, or even uh, your NICUs. Like there's certain populations that are so vulnerable, and you have to care. You have to have that extended patience because the amount of pain that is going through that woman's body, you there's no time for long talking. Like you need to get her to the laboring suite so she can have this baby healthy, and we can do other things after. And if there's any issues, like for example they need to maybe hang some sort of antibiotic, like these things can kind of happen after. Okay, so focus on a safe delivery, as safe as possible. Women have gone through labor without even having IVs put in. That's how quick labor can happen. So I don't understand. I don't even want, like, there's no need to understand her reasoning because there is no reasoning. But it's just very disappointing. I hope the hospital really investigates and determines, you know, the root causes of these situations, which we all kind of know what they are. But I hope the hospital can do like a complete reevaluation and improve their practices, because this patient should have been whisked to the laboring suite. Or if you are pregnant right now, you should talk to your OBGYN and say, hey, like if I'm in active labor, and they usually tell you this, if you are past a certain amount of weeks, you shouldn't be going to the ED triage. You should be going straight to the labor and delivery suite. Or not the suite, sorry, the labor and delivery triage, because that is where you're going to get specific care and you'd be able to be provided the right treatments. Because if you're going to the ED, like, it's a delay in treatment, it's a delay in care. So if you are pregnant again, just talk to your OBGYN or even call the hospital, and they'll usually tell you, like, yeah, if you are active labor, you should be going straight to the L&D unit or going to their triage, because again, that's where you'll get that specialized care. But man, there's no excuse for this lady. I'm happy she got fired. One less.
Hey guys, it's Leash. Listen. So the other day I made a video about the malpractice of that nurse in that triage area. I think they were in an ED or the emergency room situation, and the woman that was in active labor, how that intake nurse was just being completely negligent and dismissive of this person's symptoms. I'm like, girl, what nursing school did you go to? What? Anyway, but I mean, that's a whole other story. But the point of it is, I shared in that video, I was like, I would love to share some stories about what I experienced in terms of the uh, cruel behavior that some of these providers have done to not only patients, but also other healthcare providers. All right. Now, this story is about a healthcare provider that I worked with. And where's my water here? And it was a really sad story, because this woman was a great nurse. She was an excellent nurse. I believe she was from Trinidad, and she had a very thick accent. And we're talking about, I was working in a hospital in Indiana, so just fill in the blanks. Um, a patient of hers was really not feeling her. They were racist. Let me just call it what it is. And, unfortunately, we worked with nurses that were racist. They would present nice, but, at the end of the day, you knew where they stood. But this patient was on bed rest, right? And could only get up with the assistance of either a nurse or someone that was on staff that could help them, ambulate in a proper manner. And so they didn't want to use the bedpan. They wanted to get up and use the bedside commode. And that particular day, they couldn't use the bedside commode because there was something going on with their status in terms of them, ambulating and all the things. And they weren't happy about it. I mean, who would be, especially if you're a person who's you've been independent and now you can't, whatever, right? So they're going back and forth with the nurse, you know, giving her the business. And finally, she goes to the nurse manager and shares what's going on and explains to the nurse manager what was going on with this patient and how they couldn't get up and blah, 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 whatever, whatever. And the nurse manager goes into the room talking to the patient, blah, blah. And I happened to pass by the room. One, because I'm nosy. So I'm like, what is she going to say to this patient? So I'm pretending like I'm doing shit. And I hear the nurse manager say to the patient, oh, yeah, she doesn't, English is not her first language. And, but from what I understand, I think it is. She just has a thick accent. So there's that. And she chalked it up to, oh, English is not her first language. And, toilet means something different where she's from her country. Huh? From what I knew about this nurse and, her growing up in Trinidad, she was a pretty well-off individual. Like, she came from a family that was well-off. Probably had more money than this nurse could ever imagine. But, whatever. And she said that, and I thought, how ignorant is this? One, right? Like, this is the most ignorant thing I've ever heard in my life. And two, this patient is like chalking it up with you and like laughing about it. And it's like, this is how ignorant racism is that you probably know that this nurse is not telling you anything factual. She's just joining in on your racist rhetoric. And so I'm telling this story just to let folks know it's not just the patients that receive the business in healthcare. Providers as well receive discrimination. This particular nurse also was fired. And I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but I do know it was wrongfully. I know it was not right why she got fired. Yeah, healthcare is wild.
At this point, I'm pretty sure everybody has seen the video of the Black woman who's in active labor and she's being ignored. And I'm just going to say this. As someone who's worked in the emergency room for years and has worked at numerous hospitals, I can confidently tell you that that is not protocol. When patients come in and they're in active labor, our main priority is getting you to labor and delivery because we are not trying to deliver babies unnecessarily in the ER. We want to get you to where the nurses are specialized in labor and delivery and where there are resources to make sure that you deliver safely. So to watch that woman be in active labor and be asked questions about who her doctor is, when is her due date, to be ignored, to look at a nurse that won't even look at her, I think it was completely disheartening. And this is a clear case of medical racism. And when we are taught that Black women are 3 times more likely to die during birth than our white counterparts, this is why, because of these types of biases. This is exactly why Black women have the highest mortality rate in the country, because we are not believed, because we are not prioritized, because we are dismissed. As a Black nurse, this hurt me 10 times more because this is why I am in healthcare, because I want to protect people that look like me from going through situations like this. This is why representation matters. Above all else, I am extremely happy that the patient and her baby are alive and they are being monitored closely. But this is why when my counterparts at work tend to say, oh, I don't see color when I'm taking care of patients, I just take care of everybody the same, I always correct them and I say, no, you should see color. You should see color. The statistics show that you should see color. People tend to not care. And this is a clear case of why I am in healthcare.
If you are someone who takes care of human beings in a healthcare environment, I need you to listen the hell up. I just watched another video of a Black woman being dismissed in active labor and having a baby 8 minutes later. It is disgusting to watch, but finally people are paying attention. This is an article that was written 2.5 years ago. I talked about how if you are a nurse who says shit like, I'm colorblind. I don't see color. I treat all my patients equally. That you are part of the problem. You are actively contributing to harm because your passive silence is active violence. So you might not be the nurse that does the side eye to a laboring Black woman, but you won't be the person to speak up when something is wrong. You'll be the nurse just following doctor's orders, just pushing the patient to the car. But if you are the kind of nurse who cannot recognize that a patient's skin color, one of the most obvious things about them, puts them at a 3 times greater risk of death, what are we doing? I'm going to explain to you why equality should never be a goal in healthcare. Our goal should be equity. I'm going to use a photo that's often used to explain this, but I'm going to explain why it doesn't work on our scenario and give you a better example. So this is what equity means, okay? We're not giving everyone the exact same thing because giving everyone the exact same thing will still end with people having bad outcomes. We have to recognize the specific needs of our patient and give them exactly what they need to be successful or to live or to not be traumatized when they come into a hospital. Here's why this doesn't work when we're talking about Black women. This puts the problem or the onus within the body of that person. So I do presentations for nurses and talk about the importance of speaking up when it might feel scary to protect our patients from birth trauma, harm, or death. And in this presentation, I made this graphic, which shows 2 equally heighted women in 2 different environments in the same place. This woman's ancestors were enslaved women who were experimented on by a monster named James Marion Sims and called it gynecology, given procedures without anesthesia because they thought Black women could not feel pain. Even in my nursing books, in the culture section, it talked about how Black women have a higher pain tolerance. In order to improve outcomes for this patient, we have to either repair the ground underneath her or move her to a safer location. We have to change her environment. And when it comes to birth, there's a lot of well-meaning advocates who say, this is why you should have a home birth. No, that should never have to be the answer. We have to make birthing in a hospital while Black safer. And it starts by treating your Black patients differently. Stop being personally offended if they don't inherently trust you because you're wearing a badge and scrubs, because they've likely experienced mistreatment from someone who looks an awful lot like you. It's why my 9-year-old doesn't fuck with bees. He got stung by a bee, and even though there are going to be millions of bees who don't sting him, he will never trust a bee. And I don't blame him, because every bee has the opportunity to hurt him. We know that Black women are less likely to be listened to, so knowing that, how would you approach a patient who you knew was at a higher risk of not being listened to? Would you pull up a stool and hang on every word she says? Would you make a promise to listen to her? Would you echo her wants and desires louder to the other people on the care team? Would you act immediately if she says something is wrong? Or would you brush it off and say you're fine? But most importantly, are you willing to speak up against your coworkers, against people you may consider to be your friends when something is not right? If even half of the healthcare workers in this country made a pact to never allow this type of behavior to exist in our orbit, we could make things better. But it counts on you holding up your end of the deal, to treat your Black patients differently, to never be silent in the face of injustice, and to always be on the lookout for ways that you can help your patients feel heard.
This past week, I have seen 2 different videos of Black women in the waiting room of hospitals screaming in agony, clearly in labor, being completely dismissed by the hospital staff. One of them was being processed, I think, in the emergency room, and the receptionist was like very just dryly asking her, date of birth, symptoms, wouldn't even bother to look at her. Meanwhile, the woman is screaming in agony. She's barely able to answer. Like, I think her sister or somebody was with her and she was recording and they uploaded it to TikTok, and her sister's like, she needs help. Why aren't you helping her? Why aren't you taking her to like a room or something? And she's like literally in labor. I think she ended up giving birth like in the waiting room before they finally gave her like a hospital bed. Like, oh, I guess you weren't lying. I guess you know what you're talking about when you come in and say that you're giving birth. I suppose we should have listened to you when you said that like an hour ago. The other woman, the one in Indiana, she said that her contractions were 1 minute apart. And they said, well, you're only dilated 3 centimeters, so you can't possibly be in labor. You must be lying or exaggerating, or you don't know what contractions are or whatever. They turned her away. They turned her away without even letting her see a doctor. Like, I assume she was seen by some nurses or something, but she was never even seen by a doctor. They turned her and her husband or partner or whoever away, and they ended up giving birth on the side of the highway. The baby's father delivered the baby on the side of the highway because they were turned away from the hospital when she was in active labor. I've heard it once said that doctors and nurses are to black women what cops are to black men. And I really think there is some truth in that, because while it's of course true that the cops can also brutalize black women, they tend to do it more often to black men, but the way that black women in particular are brutalized by medical racism is horrifying. That is the reason the black maternal mortality rate is as high as it is. Black women are not taken seriously. Their pain is not taken seriously. Their symptoms are not taken seriously. They are treated like they are idiots who have no idea what's going on. They can't possibly know what a pregnancy is. The first woman, the one that was in the waiting room, and they were like, oh, they were processing her and stuff like that. They asked her how many other kids. She said she had like 3 other kids. So she clearly has had kids before. She knows what labor feels like. And they were still like, this is probably not urgent. It's just insane. It boggles the mind. Again, watching these videos of these women in screaming agony, I do not know how you can see that as a medical professional and not immediately move to help. Even if you think that maybe they're mistaken, even if you think maybe they're not really in labor, they're clearly in pain. They clearly need some sort of help. I don't know how you can treat another human being like that.
Although it was a stressful moment, shout out to that mom for filming her daughter being ignored by that nurse. Because when black women try to get on here and have an intersectional conversation and reach across and touch our other women in love and let them know the violence that they perpetuate towards us, that they pretend like they don't see, because now I'm seeing a lot of white nurses get on here and do the whole, oh, it was wrong, it was wrong, it was wrong. It was wrong, but do you do it? It was wrong, but when you see it at your workplace, do you call it out or do you look the other way? Because let's be real, in a lot of medical spaces, the reason why racism exists and y'all keep people out is because y'all doing a lot of nefarious and fucked up shit, and y'all don't want nobody up in here that's not going to stay on code with y'all culturally that will tell on y'all and get them license snatched. I remember a young black woman on here told a story about how she basically seen a nurse ignore somebody's pain to try to prove that she was faking it. So she ignored an order that the young lady had from the doctor, and she lost her job. And the black nurse reported her ass, and she lost her job, and she reported her to the nursing board. That's why y'all be trying to keep people out, because y'all know if y'all let motherfuckers in that have even a smidge of empathy, they're going to tell on you. And let me explain something to you, to the bystanders, to the people that don't say nothing, to the people that look the other way, the people that uncomfortably laugh but don't snitch on nobody or don't say nothing or don't advocate for the patient. Y'all just as bad as the person that's perpetuating the harm. She looked at that woman in pain. Even if there was nothing she could really do because she's not a labor and delivery nurse, you're in a hospital. There's nobody you could call to come help this lady that's in pain. You couldn't call and be like, hey, I'm entering a Jane Doe because she need to come upstairs. We will just do registration at the bedside like you do with any other fucking emergency. If somebody's sitting there bleeding out from a gunshot wound, you're going to be sitting there asking them, so when's your birthday? Bleeding out? Like, now y'all get to see it firsthand. Violence doesn't mean that you have to lay a hand on somebody. That woman was literally writhing in deep pain. You could probably hear her screams out in the hallway. And she didn't even turn and look at her, acknowledge her, comfort her. She looked at her, she said, I can't help you. That's the shit that we're talking about. Remember when we started getting all the police brutality on camera? Yeah. Start taking them fucking cameras out at that hospital, because it's time to start getting motherfuckers in 4K.
The number one thing that will save the black community is matriarchy.
There will be no peace. There will be no order until matriarchy is restored, specifically black matriarchy. Now, a lot of y'all not going to like what I have to say because that cognitive dissonance going to whoop your ass. But remember, I'm not responsible for your emotional intelligence. Everything that you see that is wrong with the world is because of the disrespect of the black woman. Why? Because the entity, the supreme being, the creative spirit, the creative energy that majority of the world references as God is black and female. Don't argue with me. I'm not here to explain. There's too much literature. There was a coup that was staged. There was a hostile takeover. There was a hijacking of the original religion, right? The original religion is goddess worship, is female worship, is worship of the black woman, the black mother, the great black mother of creation, Mami Wata. You can read The Great Cosmic Mother, When God Was a Woman. Everything that pertained to worship was about the worship of the great black mother of creation. The black melanated woman is a representation, a physical manifestation of that energy. When she was usurped, desecrated, and disrespected, everything went wrong with the world. And that started with religion. We won't say specifically Christianity, because there is no branch of religion that was not directly derived from goddess worship. That's why Islam, the symbol is the crescent moon and the star. That's moon worship, womb worship, mother worship. Every ism that you can think about that is wrong with the world, capitalism, racism, sexism, all of that stems from the disrespect of the mother, the disrespect of the black woman. Patriarchy is not natural. The man running the household is not natural. If it were, we would not be in such a chaotic state. There will be no restoration until the black woman is placed back into her position of sovereignty and respect. Now, a lot of people can't wrap their minds around that, because when they think of matriarchy, they think that it is a lesser form of patriarchy. So they think that if women get in place, if women get in leadership, then we're going to do what the men did. That will never happen. It is a completely different system. A system that works. If you want a literal representation of matriarchy, you can think about, if you watch Criminal Minds, the way Derek Morgan is with Penelope, that's a good representation of it. He calls to her for reference. She gives him direction. She tells him where to go. He carries it out. All of this shit that's in place, talking about the man is the head of the household, the man is supposed to rule stuff, the man is supposed to provide and protect, that's not natural. That's why it doesn't work. If you want to see the world restored, we're not just talking about the black community. What will save the world is the restoration of the black woman. Have a good one.
How do we explain to white people that black women are human beings? That black women, pregnant black women, are nothing different from the white women that are pregnant. And in fact, black women are more at risk, like 3 times at risk to die when pregnant, than even the white people they are placing emphasis on. Like, I've watched, this video I watched should be the most disturbing video I've seen. How can a woman be in labor? She is screaming. She's telling you that she can feel the baby head on her vagina. And you as a nurse, you are busy in the computer. No empathy. Nothing like encouragement. Nothing even close to coming to the woman. And this woman have that baby 12 minutes later. What language should we use to explain to the white people that black women are human beings? And when they are in labor and they are complaining of pain, they are not exaggerating it. You face racism outside your house, like in the society, in the hospital. You are also facing medical racism, because this is what I'm going to call it. How can you be so wicked to treat that woman that way? Mind you, guys, this woman, it's not even her first baby. Remember, when it's your first baby, she might say, okay, she's confused of what she's saying. It's her third child. Yes, she's coming for the delivery of her third child. So this woman is not a preemie. You understand? So she knows what she's saying, that the baby is there. In fact, the woman was bearing down. If you're a midwife, you understand it. She was bearing down like, She was bearing that to give you a sense that this woman is already in her second stage of labor. But do you know what the nurse did? Or the midwife? She was busy in the computer. She is busy in the computer. How do we beg? Well, I think at this point we need to beg. We are begging you, white people. We are begging. We are begging. It's enough at this point. It's enough. It's enough of this treatment. It's enough. We are begging. We are not commanding. We are begging you people. Please save the life of our sisters. Please.
My name is Candice Rosal, and I'm making this video because I want people to post and share, especially black women in America who have health concerns and struggles with health problems. I know I cannot be the only one. The way that I have been treated in hospitals for advocating for myself, the disrespect and the trauma that has been caused in my life when I try to advocate for myself in these hospitals. When I'm alone, I don't have friends or family here. I want you guys to share this video, and I want you guys to come forward, and I want you to share your stories and your testimonies with your experience on how you're treated as a black woman in these hospitals and healthcare facilities and clinics. Please, I am begging you guys to please share this video. There has to be something that has to be done on a higher level. I am begging you guys, please, please, please share your story. Share my videos. Share your story. Black women, share your story. We have to raise our voices and come together. This is not right.
All right, I need everyone to stop. Stop scrolling. Right now, we're going to talk about two instances of black women in labor, one in Indiana, one in Texas, who were forced to beg for medical care while hospital staff ignored them. This is not a coincidence. This is a fucking pattern, and it is killing black women in this country. And if you are not angry, you should be. Case 1, Indiana. Mercedes Wells arrived in active labor with contractions, by the way. They were 1 minute apart. 1 minute apart. She stayed in triage for how many hours? 6. She repeatedly begged for fucking help. Staff told her she wasn't far enough along. Security escorted her out of the building. Do you know how much longer it took her to have her baby after she was escorted out of the building? 8 minutes! 8 minutes later, her husband had to deliver the baby in the car on the side of the road. And family says racial bias played a role, and I believe it. I believe it. The hospital is investigating, but after this case, I believe it, because giving birth unmonitored in a car is dangerous enough. Being forced into that situation by medical staff, that is medical fucking abandonment. Can't change my mind. Case number 2 is Texas. It was Texas. Okay. Because Kira Manuel told staff that she was in active labor in Texas. Instead of treating her, you want to know what they did? They told her to sit. They told her to wait and to fill out papers. Her mother, Kanisha, if I said that right, I'm sorry if I didn't, started recording because she realized no one was believing her daughter. Kiara cried, bent over, visibly distressed, visibly in that video. And she still wasn't admitted. Staff walked right past her, ignored her, and delayed her treatment. The hospital is now receiving backlash after that video went viral. 2 states, 2 hospitals, and guess what? 2 black women begging to be taken seriously, and they weren't. We are killing black women in this country, and that is not okay. Now, why is this dangerous? The medical reality of it. Well, let me enlighten you as someone who used to be in the medical field. If a woman is having contractions 1 to 5 minutes apart, she is in active labor. She must be admitted, monitored, checked for dilation, and given fetal monitoring and evaluated for complications. Do you know what happens? What are the risks of delaying that care? Hemorrhaging, preeclampsia, what, fetal distress? That happened to me. Uterine rupture, Stillbirth, the baby can still die during active labor if they are not being monitored. Maternal death. There is no fucking paperwork first. There is no comeback later. There is only emergency care in these situations. And both hospitals chose paperwork over life. I swear to God, the medical staff better lose their licenses or the hospitals need to be shut down and rebuild something better that's not racist bigotry like this bullshit I am reading to you guys. Now let's talk about black maternal mortality. Sorry, I'm so angry. Because you know the statistics of black women dying during active labor compared to a white woman. Do you know how much higher it is for a black woman to potentially die during giving birth than a white woman? Black women are 2.5 to 3 times more likely to die from childbirth than a white woman like myself. And that's straight from the CDC. Straight from the CDC. The next fact. Did you know that black infants die at twice the rate of white infants? Also CDC. 84% of pregnancies-related deaths in the U.S. are preventable, according to the CDC. I need to say that one again. 84% of pregnancy-related deaths in the U.S. were preventable. They were preventable. 84% of them were fucking preventable. And did you know that black women are 4 more likely to have their symptoms ignored than a white woman? And that is research from the NIH and multiple medical ethics review boards. Did you know that pain is routinely undertreated in black patients due to racial bias? You don't believe me? Go look at the study, Racial Bias in Pain Assessment and Treatment. Did you know that black women receive slower care, fewer interventions, and more dismissals from medical professionals? Did you? Because this is not a one-off problem. This is not a bad nurse or a bad shift. This is a systemic pattern rooted in medical racism that has no place in our lives in 2025, especially not in 2025. Now, how do both those cases fit the same racial bias pattern? Well, pattern A, she's not in that much pain. Black women are statistically more likely to be told they are exaggerating, or they're fine, or they're not progressing enough. The second pattern, pattern B, is paperwork was prioritized over their care. This happens, unfortunately, to black patients way more than it does to white patients. Pattern C, delayed triage decisions. Okay? Slow response times happen more frequently to black women than they do white women. Pattern D, security used instead of medical staff. When a black woman advocates for herself, instead of receiving care, she receives hostility. Pattern E, you can go home. This dismissal right there leads to at-home deliveries, emergency complications, and preventable fucking deaths. Mercedes gave birth in a car. Kiara had to be filmed crying in agony to be taken seriously. Why? You need to be outraged, and here is why. Because both of these women did everything right. They went to the hospital, and they followed the instructions. They asked for their help, and they advocated for themselves. And the system still fucking failed them. Not because of bad luck, not because of overcrowding, but because of who they were. Let that sink in. Black women in America should not have to film themselves suffering to receive medical care. I don't think you heard me the first time. Black women in America should not have to film themselves suffering to receive proper medical care. They should not have to scream to be believed. They should not have to give birth in a fucking vehicle or on a lobby floor because paperwork came first. Both Mercedes and Kiara deserved better. Every black mother in this country deserves better. We need accountability. We need the public pressure right now. We need policy change. We need mandatory bias training and investigations into every last fucking hospital that dismisses black women. Because if we do not demand better right now, more families are going to lose their mothers and lose their fucking babies to a system that thinks paperwork matters more than a human life.
What up, Nurse Gang? What up, TikTok? So I just want to come through really quick with a quick word. You know, we've seen 2 viral videos this past week of black women in labor and being dismissed. The one with the nurse LaCrista Vaughn, which was absolutely horrible. And then the one with Mercedes Wells was her name, who was at Franciscan Crown Point in Indiana, was in the hospital for 6 hours, and the nurse told her she wasn't in active labor. And she went through all those hours of labor, never seen a doctor, got put out, had her baby in her truck. They ruined the birthing experience for these two moms. And that's horrible because, you know, that's a once in a lifetime experience with each child. You can never get that moment back, and they robbed them of that. And what I want to come through and talk about is, you know, these women have went through something traumatic, and I know they don't want to be the poster child for this. And what they went through, they're going to have to, you know, maybe need therapy. Maybe this is going to be something that's going to live with them forever. And it's hard, but because they recorded that and posted what was happening to them, change is going to come. Because now people are going to think twice. This is something that has been going on for years. People are going to think twice about how they're treating these Black laboring mothers when they come into their hospitals. Because LaCrista Vaughn is literally, I mean, everywhere. People magazine. I mean, everyone is talking about this woman. Nursing career done. Like, what patient is going to let her touch them ever again? You know, what hospital is going to want that in their hospital? So, you know, but what I want to say is the internet just got a glimpse this week of what Black nurses go through every day. You guys being angry and fighting, wanting justice. Imagine Black nurses dealing with that every day. Every day seeing this happen. Every day questioning decisions. Every day advocating hard for Black patients in these hospitals. While trying to keep our own sanity because we're dealing with racism ourselves in those settings. So when I say it's hard being a nurse, but it's a million times harder being a Black nurse, please believe me. Because what you guys saw and was mortified by, this is what nurses see every day in every specialty, and some life or death. And we're seeing decisions that are biased and trickling down based on systemic racism. Me specializing in psychiatry, do you know how many times I had to fight for my Black patients to have respect, to get, you know, basic needs like a haircut, all types of things. You know, for the doctors to want to spend 2 seconds with them, they were uninterested. You know, I had one doctor say a patient deserved to be called a nigga because he was acting like one. And that really happened. That's what a physician said. And I had to file a complaint against the physician. Did she lose her job? No. They made her write me a letter of apology. She ended up getting fired for slapping another patient. But nonetheless, this is what we deal with. We are fighting every day for Black patients to be, you know, it's like you look at the chart. Okay, this man broke his leg in 4 places and his shoulder. Why are you giving him Tylenol, 325? You know what? Why are you giving him Motrin? You know what I mean? Give this man some pain medication. He is in pain. You know, and these are the things that we deal with and we catch on the daily, and we have to advocate. So please give Black nurses some grace, because what millions of people were outraged about this week, Black nurses deal with it every day.
It's really painful to see our Black women not be heard, right? Not be acknowledged. On today's episode of Shit That Actually Matters, let's talk about Black maternal health.
When you requested, well, where's the doctor? I don't agree with you. What happened?
She said doctor already gave orders. She didn't want to talk about this anymore.
My daughter's in active labor, and this is Franciscan Crown Point.
In the video above, we have Mercedes Wells, who was turned away from the hospital while she was in active labor. In the video, you can clearly see she's in active labor. She's actively in pain. Despite her symptoms, the hospital discharged her and told her to come back later to seek care. According to the video, 8 minutes after leaving the hospital, the patient actually gave birth to the child while she was in the car. The family went to another hospital and they're all stabilized and doing well now. This really hits close to home for me. One, because the hospital that discharged her actually did some of my anesthesia training there. And two, because it's really painful to see our black women not be heard, right? Not be acknowledged. The healthcare system that we're currently in seems to not acknowledge black women's pain and their discomfort. How many more videos like this do we have to see until we actually acknowledge that black women have pain too, black women are uncomfortable, validate their feelings? Healthcare professionals, we have to understand that not everyone's going to present the same. Active labor for one patient may look different from active labor in another patient, right? It's common sense. According to the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, that hospital was supposed to take care of that patient there. She was in active labor. It's a huge blessing that the family's doing well and the baby was delivered successfully. Obviously, giving birth inside of a car is not the ideal situation, and there were lots of complications that could have happened in that situation. Black women, we stand with you, and we'll be doing everything we can on our anesthesia side of things to make sure that you're taken care of appropriately and given the best quality care that we can possibly give you.
Just saw another video of a black woman getting kicked out of Franciscan Hospital after having a stroke, hours after having a stroke. This is the same hospital that the lady in the pink got kicked out while she was in labor and delivered her baby, I think 6 minutes after they kicked her out, while she's driving down the road going to another hospital. You know, this lady she's having to be carried out of the hospital in the video. The video that I saw does not give any of the patients, the lady's information. It just says a black woman having a stroke being kicked out of that same hospital. Y'all, what are we gonna do? We are being, it's like they're trying to eliminate us one by one. And I don't feel like the repercussions of what they're doing are drastic enough. These are life-threatening issues that people are being kicked out of the hospital for, that people are not being, that black women are not being taken serious with their symptoms. This has got to stop.
Said that she had a stroke. It was slurred and with her speech, okay? Her speech came back, but she cannot walk.
So this is how she's actually leaving Franciscan Hospital right now. She have to be assisted by the nurse. Never, ever, ever.
It's happening.
I'm sure by now we've all seen the absolutely horrible video of that poor black woman who was in active labor and that nurse just sitting at the fucking desk charting, completely inappropriate, and that woman would go on to have her baby 12 minutes after the video had been recorded. That's how progressed the labor was, and the nurse just pregnancy history, asking her about other children, completely inappropriate. And it reminded me of the speech that I wrote for my public speaking class. It was an informative speech about the black maternal mortality rate. Our instructor said you can choose literally anything, and I said this is what I want to write about. We had to do a bunch of research for this, but I just wanted to read you a little bit of it. Racial bias shows up in many ways in the medical field for black women. Many outdated medical myths are still believed in by doctors, nurses, and medical students. The myth that black people have thicker skin and don't feel pain as much leads to the poor quality of care that many black people receive. These myths have been disproven many times, and yet, according to a 2007 study conducted by Staten et al., physicians were 47% more likely to underestimate the pain of black patients. For black women, this trend of providers believing outdated myths has deep roots. According to a 2024 article published by the Institute for Women's Policy Research, Dr. James Marion Sims, regarded as the father of modern-day gynecology, would frequently perform experimental new procedures on black women without anesthesia because he believed they had a higher pain tolerance than that of white women. This belief of his helped establish the practice of treating white and black women differently in the field of gynecology and led to the disparities we see today. According to a 2016 study conducted by Hoffman et al., many white medical trainees still had the misperception that black patients feel less pain. Because of this precedent that Dr. Sims set due to his beliefs, today racial bias impacts the care that black women receive during pregnancy. According to 2023 statistics released by the CDC, black women are 2 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white and Latina women, and over 3 times as likely than Asian women. According to a 2019 article written by Lister et al., the leading causes of pregnancy-related deaths in black women are hypertensive disorders like preeclampsia, development of cardiovascular disorders, and postpartum hemorrhage and blood clots. Because physicians are 47% more likely to underestimate the pain of their Black patients, this can lead to less Black women I'm so pissed off I can't even read. Communicating effectively with their doctors, and doctors often miss or underdiagnosing their patients, and effectively leading to a higher Black maternal mortality rate. However, according to 2017-2019 statistics released by the CDC, 80% of these deaths are wholly avoidable. I had to take a break. Just reading that pissed me off so bad, but like growing up as like a young Black girl, and like my mom is a healthcare provider, and she even would have patients tell her like, oh, I don't want you and I want someone else. And the implication of that was always because you're Black. They would prefer someone like a decade her senior versus her with her years of experience. And I was just like, why, like racism is such a disease. It is such a disease that claims the lives of so many people. And as someone who is so passionate about health justice and addressing these disparities, and it's one of the driving reasons why I aspire to become a physician myself, often overwhelmed with the passion that I feel for this cause, for forwarding this message, for if I can even translate an iota of what I feel for this into real, tangible change. But also, I am simply a pre-medical college student. I'm not even in medical school yet. I'm still fulfilling the prerequisites. But if I can teach anyone anything, if I can spread this message, if I can encourage anyone or inspire anyone to do anything, is to keep talking about these issues. These issues affect real, live, human people like you and I, and they deserve real, tangible change in these areas, in an area that touches everyone's life, regardless of race, sexuality, religion, creed, like anything. Healthcare touches everyone's lives. And so these human beings all deserve a standard of care, and it should not be diminished because of their skin color. What an outdated idea. But yeah, thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
But when I do have sons, I'm going to teach them that there's a difference between diamonds and dirt.
I do have 2 sons. I am going to teach them that everybody deserves their kindness. I am going to raise them to be good, kind people, which means when you see someone being treated wrong, you act on it. Even if that means them running to get help, they will help that person. I am going to teach them not to contribute to the problem that is men hurting women and then turn around and solve it by being their protector. I also have 2 daughters, and I am teaching them that they are worthy of kindness, love, protection, and care. And no one can determine their worth. No one can determine if they are diamonds or rocks. No one.
White women go into these positions of direct service to intentionally harm, like nursing, social work, teaching. We were having a conversation, I think Black Girls started. We were having a conversation like maybe last year or the year before, and we were talking about how, I can't remember what the position was. Oh, white women in HR, how they are to Black women what the police are to Black men. And I remember adding to that conversation that also, you know, the same is true for nurses, for social workers, for teachers, like any of these positions where they're working with a vulnerable population. A lot of times they go into these positions so they can have power over someone and so they can be this harmful. This, like what we saw from that nurse in that hospital, is common practice. It's literally why so many Black women lose their lives in labor, in delivery, because of the behavior and the, like literally, I promise you, this is intentional. I worked in social services for decades. Okay. I work with these women. They use these positions as an opportunity to punch down, to give them power. And that's why you will see so many women of no color in these positions being very harmful, especially to Black and brown people and children.
So family, I think at the end of the day, Black women deserve to be heard, they deserve to be protected, and they deserve to, their life deserves to be taken serious. Okay? No matter no matter your color, as far as you need a medical attention, it should be given to you immediately without any questioning, without any obstructions. Okay, so thank you for watching my video, and if you find it very interesting, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Support the channel by subscribing to the channel if you haven't subscribed yet. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye and stay safe.